hang out here with any luck at all. Let's see. You were live? You're kind of coming and going there, Steve. All right. It is time for a roll call. It's time to get started here. We have Donald and, let's see, Steve. There he is. And Brett and Kevin sneaks in under the wire. CJ, Dan, Dr. Dream. Dr. Dream, I forget what your real name is. And we have Horse and Dorothy snuck in here at the last minute as well. I did not see Switcher Mark provide his usual weekly excuse for why he can't come. He's not even trying anymore, it sounds like. All right, let's do a test of GarageBand and see how things are going here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right, let's hear playback. Let me know if the playback's good. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. All right. NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. And Steve is in, but he is unmuted, so let me... Steve, you're live. Don't make any funny faces. There you go. You're now hidden from broadcast again. Okay, it looks like he got up on one of his Macs there. Some technical difficulties. Just reviewed all the cars that have been waxed. The video was not available. Great job. Oh, I do have a video on YouTube about how I wax a car, but it's kind of a cruddy little video, to be honest. And I mostly get hate mail about it because in the middle of it I drop the wax and I pick it up and I use it again, which is a really stupid thing to do because you're probably grinding dirt into the car. So that was kind of lame. But all right, let's see. I think we're ready. Playback is we got an approval on playback. Playback is good and clear. Dan approves, so we are good to go. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. Today is Sunday, November 2nd, 2014, and this is show number 495. Man, we're getting really close to 500 shows. You know, we should throw a party or something. What are we going to do? Well, anyway, let's see. I mentioned the Google Plus community for the NosillaCastaways pretty often, but I thought it might make you think more about joining in the fun if you heard a rundown of what's been happening in there this week. Now, besides me posting links to all the blog posts I do during the week, Steve Sheridan posted about the new Broadwell Core M processors, which are likely to be in the new MacBook Airs. Spoiler, I think he wants one for Christmas. George from Tulsa posted a mini rant about tech journalism. Now, George's posts tend to be long, so a mini rant is a full-blown blog post, in my opinion, but it's a very interesting perspective. Jan Koopsman posted a question about how to work with the new iPhoto library beta, which sounds terrifying to me, but hey, he's going after it. I posted a question myself about how to figure out if your iPhone is unlocked, other than using a SIM from another carrier, and I have yet to get an answer to that one. I'm still waiting for a better answer than that. Bob Correa, George, and Steve all posted demos of the new iPhone camera features from slow-mo to time-lapse photography. They're pretty cool. Wade Gutman posted about how cool and strange it is that all of his devices are talking to each other now. Kate Thomas asked and then later answered her own question about a problem she had installing Yosemite from a flash drive. None other than Honda Bob posted a joined Google Plus and asked about a problem he's having on his iPhone adding contacts from emails. He is also still waiting for a solution, by the way. The best answer so far is, man, that's weird. You better go make a Genius Bar appointment. Now, he might end up with that in the end. Alistair Jenks asked for clarification on the user experience between running as administrator versus a normal user in reference to the conversation that George Starcher and Bart had. Was that just last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was just last week. 2 weeks? Anyway, Bart posted a link to the user interface he's working on for XKPassWD and invited feedback and got a bunch of people giving him some good ideas to improve it before he goes live with the real code. Jonathan Redding made his first post this week asking some questions about whether he needed a Drobo or not. We talked him out of it. In spite of the fact that we talked him out of it, he was delighted with the community support he found from the NosillaCastaways. He's new to the show, so that was really fun. And Stephen Getz showed us pictures of his yard before and after he raked the leaves. I know, sometimes we're a little silly in there, but it really adds to the flavor of the NosillaCast. This is not a fully serious show. Well, that wasn't all that happened in there. That was just a taste of what you've been missing if you're not in there already. Head on over to podfeet.com/Google+ and join in the fun. All right, let's get into some more fun with a listener contribution that I know you're going to like. All right. Even remembered to save. Boy, I have a lot of sounds coming on. All right, Steve, I think you're in twice now, so that ought to be enough. All right, Kevin's always there to tell me to save. You must have a text expander snippet for that, am I right? All right, we have Kevin in Connecticut. Now, sadly, Kevin was on the show in here last week, and I didn't have time to play his recording, and so now he's not here, I don't think, unless he snuck in. Nope. Why is Allison wearing a flower? I'm wearing a flower just to irritate people about what the weather's like. I meant to tell you guys that it was crazy this week. It rained in Southern California for almost 12 minutes. This week it's going to be in the mid to high 80s. So, you know, I actually kind of wish there were some more rain. It's getting pretty creepy around here. We've had our dog for a year. This is the first time I think she's been in the rain, maybe once before. Mike McPeak is back. Haven't seen Mike in ages. How are you, Mike? All right, Kevin, we don't need you to hear the whole time. We got Mike back, so that's fun. All right, let's hear how this transition goes. Some more fun with a listener contribution that I know you're going to like. Great. And that's too long. I don't like too much gap. Some more fun with a listener contribution that I know you're going to like.
Greetings, Allison. Kevin from Connecticut here. Let's get to my problem to be solved. Can I go back to primarily being a Mac user after 9 months? If so, which Mac should I choose? I wrote to you about 2 weeks ago on my journey back into the world of Mac. I changed the horse I was riding, but I am still here. When I contacted you, I had purchased the low-end mid-2014 iMac at a cost of $1,099. I had a feeling something good was going to be released at the October 17th event, and I decided to make a return and wait a few days. My closest Apple store was one of the first in this country. It opened in 2001. They are incredibly busy.
All right, I'm actually going to jump us ahead because I have a lot to record here. So it's a really great recording talking about how he left the Mac and he came back. All right, here we go. All right.
How many lashes I should get for being a heretic? Thank you. Kevin from Connecticut.
Oops, I started laughing before he was done. I should probably wait.
I should get for being a heretic. Thank you. Kevin from Connecticut.
Well, Kevin, I think we'll forgive you, much like the prodigal son. We're just glad that you're back in the family. Now, I love two things that you said about using Windows. You said, and I'm quoting here, it was not hell and it was predictable. I think that in those two sentences is the real essence of the difference between Windows and the Mac. I mean, Windows works just fine, but you'll often hear people say, I love my Mac, or I was playing on my Mac. But you don't hear that from Windows people as often. I mean, sure, it does happen, but it's just not as prevalent. They say instead about their Windows machine that it's predictable and they can get their stuff done. But you don't hear the joy and delight very often. Sometimes again, but not that often. In any case, Kevin, welcome back to the family. Now, your choice of the mid-range Mac Mini will dovetail perfectly into my next segment. I've mentioned a few times that Steve and I have an aging Mac Mini connected to our family room entertainment center. It's a 2009 Mac Mini with a screaming fast Intel Core 2 Duo processor with 2 entire gigabytes of RAM. Now, I have to admit that we haven't used it too much over the years, but I wasn't sure whether it was because it was severely underpowered or because using a real computer connected to a TV is kind of painful. I mean, I swear, every time we pull out that wireless keyboard and mouse that goes with it, the batteries claim they're dead. I don't know. It's kind of a pain. But I bought this Mac Mini to replace the awful first-generation Apple TV that I sold to Jonathan Koss for $50 so very long ago. I had tried to hack the Apple TV into submission when I finally realized I was wishing it was a real computer, and it just wasn't. Now, the 2009 Mac Mini doesn't have an HDMI port, so I also had to buy a dongle that took the USB audio out and the display port out from the Mac and converted it to HDMI. That allowed us to connect it into our AV receiver via HDMI. We had that, of course, the Apple Bluetooth keyboard and trackpad that sort of kept us in business. Now, the big problem with this setup is that OS X text is wee tiny on a 50-inch TV, so we had to be pretty desperate to watch content that can only come from a Mac in order to use this setup. With a current Apple TV, a Roku, and a Chromecast, and soon to be an Amazon Fire Stick, we really have very little reason to have the Mac Mini at all anymore. So I bought a new one. There's justification, right? Well, I was waiting for the new Mac Minis to be announced, and unlike most people, I was delighted with the upgrade. I do have to say, thanks to Stephen Getz and our Google Plus community for pointing out that the RAM is soldered in now. I knew I had to go forward buying as much RAM as I thought I'd ever need. If you're planning on using a Mac Mini as a powerhouse machine, you might want to think again, as they've limited this year's models to dual core, no longer offering a quad core version. But hey, we've already established I probably don't even need the Mac Mini, so I don't need that. Apple delightfully dropped the price of the entry-level Mac Mini back to $500, but they did what they always do. They made the jump up to the next model a no-brainer. Just like Kevin, I went for the middle, but let me explain why. The entry-level Mac Mini is a 1.4 gigahertz Intel Core i5, but the middle model is a 2.6. So that means the middle one is nearly double the speed for only $200 more. In addition, you also get twice the storage. It goes from 500 gigabytes to 1 terabyte, and you get 8 gigabytes of RAM instead of 4 gigabytes. That $200 jump is impossible to deny. Now, both models sport very slow spinning hard drives at 5400 RPM, which is really a laptop drive. If you can at all afford it, never buy a spinning hard drive ever, ever, ever again, except maybe as a backup drive or when you need a lot of storage. One of the main things I was waiting for in the new Mac Mini was a nice fast SSD option, but Apple did something to make the decision very difficult. For $200 more on the mid-range model, you can either get a 256 gig SSD or a 1 terabyte Fusion drive. The Fusion drive is actually a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM spinning drive plus a 128 gig SSD, and the operating system intelligently moves data back and forth depending on what you use to give you the best performance. Your OS will live on the SSD because you're using it all the time, and the applications you use most will also be there. As you use the device, it'll also keep data that you access all the time on the SSD. So that means you have to look at what you're going to do with this device to figure out which one to get. If you have a huge amount of data you want to store, the Fusion drive is the way to go because you can keep it all on one drive and it should be pretty darn fast. But if you have smaller needs, the 256 gigabyte SSD will give you better performance all the time. Now, years ago, Steve created virtual disk images of all of our home movie DVDs he's created over the years, and we have 65 ripped movies as well. We have them strung out on external laptop quality drives hooked up via USB 2.0 right now, so it seemed to me that it was a good idea to get the 1 terabyte Fusion drive so I could at least bring those all internal. Even if I'm not using them all the time, it's got to be better than having all those drives hanging off the machine. On the other hand, we're upgrading Steve's mom from a white MacBook, I think circa 2008. She never unplugs it from power, so a Mac Mini is a perfect upgrade for her. I looked at her disk usage to see which model would be best for her. Do you believe she has an 80 gigabyte hard drive with 66 gigabytes used? Clearly, a 256 gigabyte SSD was the model for her. So I actually bought one of each. Now, I know it's probably overkill, but to figure that out, I asked her whether she wanted to be... Actually, I don't like the way I went with that. Hang on. And I noticed 2 big typos I've got to fix on the blog. And one was, I said 500 RPM instead of 5400 RPM. 2 typos. Let me go back and grab that. So that was one of them. Entry 500. Let me explain the entry level Mac middle models to. It's so much harder to see your own typos. Try from 500 to 1 terabyte. You get 8 gigabytes of RAM. 5 is really light. Maybe a backup drive when you need a lot of storage. Well, the main thing. Come on. Either 250. Somebody just go read this for me and find all my typos and just send me an email. By the way, I would never mind if anybody wants to proofread my stuff and give me my typos. Shoot. Can't find it. I knew that would happen. All right. Let me back up a little bit here. Do you believe she... Okay, I'll start with, would you believe... Miss anything? 500 RPM drive. Yeah, that sucker's slow. Somebody find that typo. It was right around when I said 500 RPM drive, or in the text. Add your lower third. Oh my gosh, I forgot my lower third. Thank you so much, Steve. Let's see. Can't believe I forgot it. I'm so sorry, Steve. Is that better? I do like having my lower third on. Thank you for reminding me. It's kind of cool. Oh, check your messages for me. Look at that. You've been typing to me. Oh, good, good. Thank you very much, Steve. All right. All right, we were at Would You Believe? Yes, Kevin, I would. All right, Would You Believe? Where is Would You Believe? Here we go. I think I have a script, huh? Would you believe she currently has an 80 gigabyte hard drive with 66 gigabytes used? Clearly, the 256 gigabyte SSD was the model for her. I know it's probably overkill to give her that, but to figure out what I should get her, I asked her whether she wanted to be happy for 3 years for $700 or happy for 5 years for $900, and she picked the latter. Of course, for my silly living room Mac, I doubled the RAM to 16 gigabytes, but I left hers at 8 gigabytes. I thought this discussion might be useful if you're looking into buying a Mac Mini yourself. By the way, there is a top-level Mac Mini configurable to a 1 terabyte SSD and a 3.0 gigahertz Intel Core i7. That bad boy is $2,200 before you add tip and tax, so now I don't feel so bad about spending $1,100 on a family room PC. Oh, by the way, anybody in the market for a 2009 Intel Core 2 Duo Mac Mini? It's got 2 gigabytes of RAM. I think an entry-level Mac Mini with 128 gigabyte SSD would have been perfect for my mom. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the entry level, but God, $200 for twice as fast, twice the RAM, and twice the disk? How could you not spend the extra $200, you know? Really, Kevin? I mean, you got to have a low-end need, but this is going to bug me until I find this typo. Maybe it was right before that. Sorry, I'm reading. Makes for good audio and video, right? Well, the middle model is at 2.6. It means the middle one, twice the speed for only more. In addition, you get twice the storage from 500 gigabytes to 1 terabyte. You get 8 gigabytes RAM instead of 4. $200 jump is impossible to deny. Both models support very slow spinning hard drives at 500 RPM, which is really a laptop drive. If you can't at all afford it, never buy a spinning hard drive again, except maybe as a backup drive. We need a lot of storage. One of the main things I was waiting for in the new Mac Mini is a nice fast SSD, but as Apple did something make the decision difficult for $200 more in the mid-range model, you can either get a 256 gigabyte SSD or 1 terabyte Fusion drive. Fusion drive is actually a 1 terabyte, 7200 RPM spinning hard drive with a 128 gigabyte SSD. Somebody else is going to need to read this and find it for me. It's a blaring typo. This is making me crazy. 65, maybe strung out. I can't see it. I hate proofreading my own stuff. Yeah, Steve, that would be great. Thank you. Oh, now the messages are coming across there. Uh-oh, cutting off the Ballast Point logo. Well, I could cut off the top of my head. I want to make sure Ballast Point is, there we go. I'll sit up higher in my chair, Ballast Point. Steve was pointing out my lower third was covering up my Ballast Point thing. 2007 iMac needs an SSD. Oh man, it's so fun to tear apart. Our buddy Ron let us help him tear his apart, take the glass off. The one thing I would suggest is you have somebody else with you to just for when you pull the glass off, all of a sudden you have it in your hands. But actually, the easiest part of that whole upgrade was pulling the glass off. Well, I was waiting to see if Mark showed up, but I did want to show you guys. Steve bought me a new solar filter for my camera, and he labeled it Solar Filter, so I wouldn't forget. He also wrote, not for direct viewing. I'm not quite sure why he did that. Did he think I was going to just stick my eyeball behind it? I'm not sure, but I got to try that out. Got to take some more pictures of the sun. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. A while back, I published a post about how to get your LastPass data out of your vault and move it over to 1Password. I didn't do a lot of detail on it, though, and the process is a little bit weird to follow. So I created a tutorial on it and published it today. You can find a link in the show notes or look under Mac or Security Tutorials in the left sidebar. Now, I hesitated to publish this when I created it more than a month ago, because Pat Putnam, who tested it for me, discovered a problem that neither of us can solve. Using the web browser plugin from LastPass, you tell it to export a CSV file, that's comma-separated value file. It's supposed to open a save dialog box, but for some people, including Pat, instead it splats your passwords onto the web browser window. I've been unable to find a pattern to why this happens to some people on some browsers. I even enlisted John F. Brown of the Mac Geek Gab to help me noodle it, but he was unable to solve it either. I was able to reproduce this odd behavior that Pat gets using Steve's computer. I decided that for those of you for whom this works, I should go ahead and publish it, and hopefully someone reading this will write to me and say, "Hey dummy, all you gotta do is..." As you know, I'm good buddies with the SMR podcast guys, Rob, Rod, and Chris. Actually, I sometimes I think I should have a little ding. See how this... You haven't thrown it away yet? Oh, you like it on your 2013 iMac. That's good to know, Brett. Haven't thrown it away yet? Oh, yeah, well, let me just throw this in the trash. Oh, Jamal's back. Hey, Jamal, how you doing? Good to see you. I don't know about this break here. That's a tough break because I'm making a funny joke. This will write to me and say, "Hey, dummy, all you got to do is..." As you know, I'm good buddies. How do I do a better break there? Maybe I'll just say moving on. Oh, you found my typo. What's the other typo? Definitely tell me. Capitalized mini and Mac mini. Oh, come on. It's not a typo like that. It's an error. It's like a big mistake. Steve, 6-pair, both models port very slow, 500 RPM. Yeah, Kim, I found that typo. I can find that in the text, but there were two in a row. Right when I was reading it, I saw a second one. Okay, you keep looling, Steve. That's good. Steve knows that I don't care about capitalization. It drives him nuts. Okay, moving on. As you know, I'm good buddies with the SMR podcast guys, Rob, Rod, and Chris. Their communication tool of choice is WhatsApp, mostly because it works on never a compatibility problem. It's fine for chat clients, supports text, audio, video, and photos. There's one huge problem with it, though. You can't use it from the desktop, not even from a web interface. If I'm sitting at my Mac with a perfectly good keyboard in front of me, it drives me bonkers to have to pick up my iPhone and type on it. On occasions, I've gotten into such... Occasions? On occasion. Who's OCD? What? Steve can rule as much as he wants. Okay. This is good. Steve, what's the alcohol content in the, what did you say I was drinking? Big Eye? This is a Ballast Point Big Eye. Ooh, I'm not in a Ballast Point mug, though. I'm in a Mustang Cafe mug. I better hide it. COD, all in the right order. Yeah, why isn't phonetic spelled that way? All right. On occasion, I've gotten into such heated discussions with them that I've actually dusted off my Bluetooth keyboard, connected it to my iPhone, but that's kind of a pain too. Today I got an email from a user group talking about how long the line was to buy an iPhone 6 Plus at the Manhattan Beach Apple Store. He said it was about 100 feet long and he had to wait 2 hours to get a phone. That's pretty crazy. 41 days after launch and there's still giant lines. Anyway, this is just the kind of long-form text I would love to send to the boys, but there it was, locked away on my Mac, and I wanted it on my iPhone. Wouldn't it be cool if I could copy from my Mac and paste into my iPhone, or vice versa? Enter Command-C from danilo.to. That's DANILO.to. And, of course, there's a link in the show notes, so don't worry about memorizing that. I have no idea how this app works, but it's really, really cool. You pay $4 for the iOS app, and then the Mac app is free in the Mac App Store. Command-C works as a menu bar app on the Mac, so I chose to tell it to run at login. I may not keep that forever as this is kind of a one-off use app. I might not have to have it running all the time. I could launch it, but who knows? Maybe now that I have it, I'll want to use it all the time. After installing an iOS, you flip through a few screens that explain how the app works. You have to have your Mac on the same Wi-Fi network, and you choose whether to have notifications. They politely explain that you need them to start this up, but you can turn them off later. You also pair from the starting instructions, which is a very good thing. You wouldn't want anyone on the same Wi-Fi network to be able to just start pasting stuff all over you, right? I selected the text in the email that I wanted to send to the iPhone, copied it, and then I tapped on Command-C in the menu bar. It popped down from my menu bar showing me the available devices, which in that case was just my iPhone. A double tap on the device, and suddenly an alert came up on my iPhone screen showing Command-C as the application and the text of what I'd copied. I flipped over to WhatsApp, held down my finger in the text field till Pay showed up, and boom, there's the text from my Mac. It was exactly what I wanted. Now, I'm wondering how many of you are hollering at your screens, "You moron, you have mail on your phone. You could have copied it from there." Well, yeah, that would have been a smart thing to remember before I started this. But I'm glad I didn't remember, because I've had a lot of experiences where this would be helpful, like writing original text on my Mac to paste into that stupid WhatsApp, right? Well, back to Command-C. There's some nice options in the preferences. If you don't like pulling down menu bar items, you can use a hotkey, Command-X, to pop the menu down. You can choose how many of your devices to show in that menu as well. Not sure why you wouldn't want to show all your devices, but maybe if you have a large network you manage, that would get out of control. You can... Okay, those typos are terrible. Okay, I got to write these down. I've already posted this. It says you can chow or hide the menu bar. I think chow should be show. And there's a weird right question, and then there's a comma underneath it, or like a backwards comma. I don't even know what that is. I just hit like my 5th typo in a row. I got to get all of these. And beg out of control. For a while, I let Steve check for typos, but then he wanted to start editing. And that had to stop. No, these were written a couple days ago. Nobody said anything. Okay, where was I? Not sure why you wouldn't want to show all your devices, but maybe... I think I'll start from there. Should I save, Kevin? Okay, Steve's been writing to me. I should go check and see what he's been writing. Ooh, big guy is 7% alcohol content. Okay, let's see. No more beer for Allison. I wrote that the other day. Okay, what was I going to say? Not sure. There we go. Okay. Over here, save. Not sure why you wouldn't want to show all of your devices, but maybe if you have a large network you manage, that would get out of control. You can show or hide the menu bar or dock icons, which is really swell. If you like sound and animations, Command-C has them for you, but if that stuff drives you crazy like it does Steve, then you can disable them. There's a section called Background and Preferences, and it's supposed to allow the functionality even when the app isn't open. I think I had unrealistic expectations of how this worked. I thought I could quit Command-C on both iOS and OS X and it would somehow magically work. Well, of course you have to have them running in the background. They just don't have to be open is what they meant. Yeah, right? All right, okay. I figured it out eventually. If Command-C is unable to paste the text to the other device, the pushing device makes a sad sound and the logo turns red. It's nice to have the negative notification too, so you don't just sit there wondering if it works. I almost forgot to mention, you can also copy from iOS back over to the Mac. I put it on my iPad and I was able to happily fling text around in a circle between my 3 devices. You may not need Command-C today, but I'm guessing somewhere, someday, you're going to need to copy and paste between your devices, and you'll be thinking, didn't Allison tell us something, there's some app that could do this? Send me an email when you do, or just search the show notes for Command-C from Danilo Torresi at danilo.to. By the way, since I posted the blog post on this, I have used this probably 4 or 5 times, and that was just a couple of days ago. So it's definitely very, very useful once you have it. Bye, Kevin! Are you leaving us? All right. So nice we've had this time together. Just to laugh and sing a song or two. Anybody get that? Come on, call it. Somebody call it. Yeah, good job, Steve. You're cheating because you're hearing ahead of everybody. All right. Yes, you do have an advantage. But you didn't give him the rest of the hint. Can anybody else, does anybody know what Carol he's talking about? On Monday night, my daughter Lindsay called me with an emergency. She and her husband Nolan were out at a restaurant and planned to do their fantasy basketball draft on ESPN using their iPads and iPhones. When they went to the ESPN website on their iOS devices, they were faced with a Flash interface. I don't know if you're into fantasy sports, but my kids take it very seriously. When it's draft time, it's intense. When Lindsay called me, I told her that I remembered there was at least one browser for iOS that would allow you to surf sites with Flash. From what I could remember, these browsers render the Flash in the cloud and then deliver it to your iOS device without Flash. I did a quick search in the App Store and I found the Puffin browser. The folks behind Puffin have a really interesting way for you to figure out if it'll work for you. They offer a free version of the Puffin browser called Puffin Free, but Flash only works between certain hours. I think they said 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but they don't say whose time zone, so maybe it's your time zone? I'm not really sure. But in any case, it can't be during peak hours. It lets you try out the service, but if you want to have full-time access, you're going to want to buy the full version for a whopping $4. Now, I figured this was a serious emergency, so I shelled out the $4, which gave her and Nolan access because they're on my family share in iTunes, which I think is so cool. Within a few minutes, I got a message from her, and she sent out a tweet to the internet that made me so happy. She wrote, "My mom, at Podfeet, is a lifesaver. She figured out how to avoid Flash for our fantasy basketball draft with 90 seconds to spare before our turn." I got to tell you, the thing I liked best about that was that she did it on Twitter because she knew I would read it on Twitter. I loved it. Now, I don't know if the Puffin browser works on all Flash websites, but it sure did solve the problem for Lindsay and Nolan. As I dug into the info on the website about the Puffin browser, I discovered some other cool stuff Puffin can do. Here's a problem to be solved. You want to download a file, but you don't want to burn up your data plan for your cellular device. You can choose to have Puffin download the file from the website you're accessing to your Dropbox or Google Drive account. That means it moves from one website to another, never going through your device's data plan. I tried it out. I told it my Dropbox login info and then asked it to download the latest MP3 file from podfeet.com, and over on my Mac I saw it show up in the folder under apps/Puffin browser. Very, very cool. With the full version, you can turn on a virtual trackpad, which allows you to point with more precision and actually grab and drag items on screen. Now, I don't have a direct need for this, but I'm thinking maybe if you're playing a Flash game and you need to pick something else up, this could be an essential feature. You can even turn on a virtual gamepad. I think there's a lot more to this browser than I've covered here. The preferences alone suggest there's much more capability to be discovered. If you want to play web-based games or access web apps and some educational content, which is often annoyingly in Flash, check out the Puffin browser for both iOS and Android over at puffinbrowser.com. Why is your married daughter still on your family share? Why not? Because they'll let me. I let her husband on too. She doesn't have to, but I offered it to him. They're so cheap; they never buy anything. So this is all actually a bad deal for me. Let's see. Should be if before clarify. It's a bad deal for me because they never buy anything. I mean, they bought like $6 worth of stuff so far. So I ended up putting them on my family share, and now they get access to everything I buy. So it's fun. I like it because I'm always going, "Oh, Lindsay, this is really cool app." She's like, $4? I'm not going to spend $4. Well, she's careful with her money. Go figure. But it's fun to have her on it. That's why. And they let me. By Go Kim Sports Team. Go. So remember way back early in the show when I talked about that tutorial about how to move from LastPass to 1Password? Everybody sing it now. How did I create the tutorial? With Clarify, of course. I love how you can store your tutorials inside Evernote now. It's like my own little database of tutorials. I've got tags and search to find the one I want to edit. Today I opened up Evernote, did a search for LastPass, double-clicked on the Clarify document embedded in the note, edited it, tapped on the WordPress logo to push it up to podfeet.com as a tutorial page, and boom, we're in business. So much ease of use to be able to make the tools that help people out. This week, Melissa Menazzi wrote on the blog that she found the NosillaCast because of one of the tutorials I created. So it really kind of brings everybody together. If you'd like to create tutorials for yourself and others, check out Clarify from clarify-it.com. No, it does. CJ, it does not need iTunes Match. Or, oh, wait, you need iTunes Match. Yes, Steve, that's it. Not iMac. I wrote iMac instead of Mac Mini. You found it, Steve. Thank you. That was the other typo. Yay! Oh, you run on gift cards. Yeah, the Dave Hamilton said gift cards turn into a real problem, that they'll only pull the money from your oh, I didn't finish editing this. No. We're going to have some fun now. I have some editing to do. Vase, no matter how it's spelled. Oh, man, you took on from Kevin, didn't you? Oh, I forgot to drop in a jingle. Let's see. I guess Mike is standing in for Kevin, so Mike, take your ears off. Favorites, Jazz, 44th Street Long. There we go. Bring that out. Did anybody else guess what carol that was? Okay, let's take a look at that. I have to bring that in a lot. I think that should be about there. What? That sounds like the blimp going by, Steve. Is that the blimp? No, maybe it's an airplane. All right. Mike got it good. A long national nightmare is now over. What is that about? .com. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Chit Chat Across the Pond, and this week we have a pretty interesting panel to talk to. I invited Guy Searle onto the show from the MyMac.com podcast because he was interested in talking about Gamergate, and since the biggest gamer I know is the big man himself, Big Chris Ashley from the SMR podcast. How are you guys doing today, boys?
Doing great. How are you?
Happy, happy, joy, joy, as they say somewhere.
Well, this is going to be a rather serious topic, but I think you guys are pretty qualified to have some interesting conversation about it. Guy, why don't you start with what your assessment of what happened? By the way, a lot of people don't know what Gamergate even is, and I sort of felt like I came in after most of the pages had been turned because I was away for the weekend. So give people a synopsis of what happened.
Well, essentially this. From what I've been able to, because I came in on it late myself, and from the little bit of research that I've done, this all kind of started to blow up in August. And essentially, there was a game developer by the name of Zoe Quinn who had made a game. The game had been reviewed by a couple of people, and then the guy she was going out with at the time, they broke up. And she apparently had some kind of relationship with a journalist that worked for a video game site called Kotaku. And after that happened, there was apparently some kind of blistering accusations thrown out by the ex-boyfriend, kind of insinuating that she had this relationship before Kotaku had reviewed her game. And that led into a whole thing. And the way Gamergate kind of started, and again, anyone who's listening to this, contact me at guy@mymac.com, or contact Allison, or contact Chris at all the various places if I get this wrong. It was supposed to be about ethics in journalism as related to the reviews and news reporting of video games.
Okay, because it was being questioned. Okay, I'm going to have to do some editing. So we lost Chris, and then we got back in, and I made some notes somewhere. I wrote a note. Where's my note on my desk? I got notes saying not 500 RPM. Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot. That's not going to tell me. Somewhere along here we lost Chris, so I guess I'm just gonna have to guess where it was. Get back to looking at the video.
But can you see me?
No, I can't. Okay. See, I probably should have done this on the regular stuff. Let's see. Maybe this is Chris.
You beat somebody. It's a competitive atmosphere.
Right. Well, but it's like that with anything that's competitive, whether you're talking about games or sports or competitive.
That's part of the fun, right?
Right.
I mean, I talk smack when I play pool.
I know.
Okay. Oh wait.
I've seen that. Scary.
Okay. Definitely. Hey, it looks like we may. Okay, there it is. Good. I think right before I say definitely, what if I cut that there? Command T. Actually, this would be more interesting for you. I copied this. Did I paste this in here? This is a link to Carol Burnett singing. I think that might be her final sign-off, by the way. I'm going to let you guys watch GarageBand because it's going to be more interesting than me for a few moments. Okay, there we go. So I'm trying to cut off. Okay, I think let me move that down here for the moment, but remind me to put that back. Okay, there. Now I can't hear that. And I think I want to pull this up, but I think I say the word go. Chris did a great job of jumping in right where we lost him, even though he didn't know we'd lost him. Okay, and that's me saying go. I think this is going to work. Okay, I know that's me yelling go, so that's not it. I said I would say go before I hit record, and I forgot and recorded, so I said go. Okay, so let's see how this works.
Or, competitive tiddlywinks.
That's part of the fun, right?
Right.
I mean, I talk smack when I play pool.
I know, I've seen that. Scary.
So the point I'm making is that when you're gaming, people are competitive.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that piece and turn intro, outro back on so that I understand it, and then we're going to go back here to the end. Hey, Linda, I never got that that email about a Korean accent? No, Korean text? Whatever it was you said I didn't say, didn't respond to, I never got it. So that's why, let's see, oh, stop. I wish I knew, one of my choices, and I can't show you this because I can't share what I'm sharing, in Google Hangouts I have a thing, I'm screen sharing a window, and it says you're screen sharing, my choices are stop or present to everyone. But if you're all seeing it, what is present to everything? That is a plumeria blossom. We have plumeria trees. See? Isn't it pretty? Yep, we got a new plumeria tree. All right, so let's see where that goes. Oh man, that timing worked out great. That's an hour and 12. That couldn't be better. Here we go. Did 2? Okay. If you say so. Let's see. Steve's telling me something here. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Entry. So that was drop price. Oh, I'm so glad you found that, Steve. That's going to drive me crazy. Okay. I have some editing to do. All right. Let me go along here.
iTunes. You can also reach me at my anonymous Twitter account, which is MacParrot, over on Twitter.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
That was really, really cool. Like I told the boys afterwards, I think sometimes the social conversations are even more interesting than the hardcore geek stuff. I think you'd get sick of it if we talked about issues all the time. But I know one of the most interesting things we've had on the show so far was Professor Marianne Gary talking about memory. So I think this probably will generate a little bit of conversation. It should be pretty fun. Well, if you want to join in the conversation on the topic of Gamergate and women, like we said, women in gaming in general, please, not just women in gaming, please go over to a Google Plus community at podfeed.com/Google+, if I haven't already given you enough reasons to go over there. That is going to wind us up for this week. Many thanks to our sponsor for helping pay the bills, Blue Mango Learning at BlueMangoLearning.com, makers of Clarify. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at Allison@podfeet.com. You'd be amazed how many people ask me that address. I say it every week, but somehow it doesn't stick. Maybe I give too many links. Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter and app.net over at Podfeet, and I'm at Podfeet over on lo.co as well. Check out the NosillaCast Google Plus community. Did I mention that enough times? So much fun over there. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, and it is a real hoot, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time, like Mike McPeak did this week after a long hiatus, and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. Steve went off to buy a Mac and came back with what? Oh, the downpour. Yeah, our 12 minutes of rain. All right. Hey, it's a dog licking me. Why are you licking me? If you come on this side, they can see you. All right, because I know they're really excited about that. Oh, there's a puppy. Oh, no.
All right,
the weekly viewing.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
I'm dumb as a stick. Okay, that's a good view. That is a good view. Sorry, Steve. I don't like when you do that, but that one was funny. That was funny right there. I don't care who you are. All right. Let's see. One of the reasons I got a dog was because New York Linda had a dog. I always figured that, she has such a beautiful home and she keeps it all pristine and beautiful and stuff. And then when I found out she had a dog, I figured I could have a dog. And enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right, there we go. Oh, in the end. Now, this is another thing you should thank Linda for. I want to show you guys something. If I haven't shown you this before, I may have shown it before, but this is also because of Linda. So here's the end of the audio, right? Whoops. Where is it? So that's the end of the audio right there, at the end of the blue. So I'll move the thing to the end there. But one time I published the show, and Linda said, why is there like 3 minutes of dead silence? See this scroll bar over on the far right? Notice how there's a gap there at the end? If I go over to the far right, that is that little tiny symbol at the top. I don't know if you can see it, but that little tiny symbol at the top is actually where the end of the recording was. So because it was longer and then I slid it back after I chopped it, that extra piece is sitting there. So now I sometimes remember to put it at the end, and that's why the show is the correct length. Ear scratches for Tesla. Oh, you kept Heidi and Hans outside. Oh, I didn't know that. They never were indoors, ever? I did not know that. Well, I should throw Tesla outside then. I don't know if you heard me saying earlier that she saw rain for the first time this week. That was pretty funny. Only had her a year. It's really getting kind of creepy how it's not raining, you guys. It's really kind of strange. 95. Man, wait. Back in 2014, and this is show number 495. Man, what should we do for 500? 495. I think there should be a cake, and there should be... what is going on? Charles. CJ is Charles. Why is everybody spelling their names backwards? Is that because of save? Maybe we should have a cake and champagne. Everybody could I get everybody to have champagne? What do you think? All right, let's join all that together. Fly us out to California. That's a really good idea, Mike. That would be awesome. That's pretty funny, Linda. That the dogs were never indoors. I did not know that. I literally did think, well, Linda can have a dog inside in a clean, nice, beautiful house. That's really funny. Cake? Did someone say cake? What could we do? We have to do something fun. It's only 5 weeks away. All right, I think we are set. I should give you my lovely face back. Because you like to see my lovely face when I say goodbye. All right, guys, put on your thinking caps. Think up something fun for us to do for the 500th show. That's in 5 weeks, 5 short weeks. Use your Windows phone to take screenshots of Apple Pay. That would have worked, but I sold my Windows phone to a listener, and he got to play with it. That was pretty funny. Yes, the cake is a lie. That is the problem. We're having trouble with our Wemos right now are not working right with iOS 8, and somebody in one of the discussion boards told Steve, well, just use like an Android device or something. And so, yeah, okay, well, that isn't going to work. Already voted. Yeah, has anybody else got a Wemo? Oh, Steve, you should ask Katie to test it for you, because she's the Wemo crazy person. All right, I'm going to say goodbye. Let's see. Let's waltz out in opposite order. I'm going to say goodbye to Dan at the very least over on listening to the audio on NosillaCast. We'll go last out, first in, whatever. Anyway, goodbye everybody on the app. Goodbye. And now we're going to say goodbye to Alpha Geek Radio. So Steve returned them to their normal broadcasting. And goodbye, Alpha Geek Radio. Goodbye. Thanks for coming. And then we will stop the Google Hangout. Goodbye. Thanks for coming, guys.